Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mental Health Warriors. I'm Annette, and I'm here joined with my guest, Kristin Larsen. Today, we're going to be sharing on his amazing book, The Decision to Heal and the Joy of Being, and what he does about his journey. And I will apologize a lot through this show because I've just had a tough week. So if I pause and maybe cry, you'll know why. Anyhow, we will be back shortly after the introduction. Hello and welcome back. Hello, Kristin. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself, Annette?
I am doing better today, as I was sharing with you earlier. But did you know that this month, not only is it Pride Month, but it's also Mental Health for Men's Awareness?
Yeah, actually, I think I read that somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, and I did not know that all this time. I've always known that it was Pride. And then our founder of the Mental Health Warriors, he shared with me that it was Men's Mental Health Month Awareness. And I was like, oh. So, I'm always learning to expand my horizons. And leading into your story, which you've come here gracefully to share with me a little more. I mean, we met maybe 2-3 months ago at a market, and I really gravitated towards what you do and what you share because your book, The Joy of Being, that came out second, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so share a little bit about yourself, how you came to be an author, how you came to become a transformational coach, soul coach, right?
Yeah, that's what I call myself, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so thank you for having me here. And my journey, it really started with kind of exploring, life and myself. I was confused on where I wanted to go in life, and I felt stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And with that came a lot of, when you talk about mental health, and that was actually one of the things that kind of attracted to me what you do as well when we first met as well, because you're a big mental health advocate, which I really admire and appreciate because it's so needed.
Yes.
So I struggle with a lot of mental health challenges myself, and a lot of them were things that I've created over the years, such as perfectionism, self-judgment, a lot of those things. So that affected how I was showing up in my day-to-day life, and also beliefs that really affected what I was believing about myself, what I felt that I was capable of, and what I felt, I was capable in life, basically.
Yeah.
So anyways, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do in life, and working in a job that I didn't like, and I felt like that was the best that I could do in life. And I just
how old were you when you were going through that?
So this was probably about 20 years ago. So this is in my early 20s.
Yeah. Hello, Jackie.
And so I just felt like there is no purpose. I didn't feel like there's a purpose, and I just felt trapped.
Okay.
And almost helpless.
So what were you doing before?
So working in a car manufacturing company.
Okay.
Basically on an assembly line.
Yes.
So it's just it seemed very monotonous, and just doing the same thing repetitively over and over. And there's just I didn't feel like there's any joy in it.
Yes.
So there's a lot of learning involved in that, and exploring, what my talents are and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyways, I learned about myself, and that brought me eventually to discovering that my talents aligned with coaching and being an author, wanting to share my learnings with other people and help open up a space for them to I guess improve their mental health as well, if that's what they were struggling with.
Nice. Oh, let me pause you for a second. Jackie, you're very welcome to leave any comments or questions you may have. That's for all viewers who are watching, and ask away. So once you discovered that there was this, you felt stuck or stale, as you described it, did you have like a period of depression from it?
Yeah, and there's many periods of depression in there, and
totally can relate.
and also like anxiety in there as well.
Yeah.
Because it's just a lot of constant worry. I just felt like life was being wasted away, and yeah, I didn't feel like anything was going to change, and I didn't know how to change things or make things better.
So where did you take your steps from there when you had that realization that you were stuck and that you were struggling with depression and anxiety? Where did you go from there?
Yeah, and it was a long learning curve as well, but it was definitely gradual. It wasn't anything that happened all at once. I think it was all but the small steps, and I believe that it started with a lot of self-care for sure.
Perfect.
And when I say self-care, I mean like proper nutrition, proper exercise, the right amount of sleep, things like that, which kind of change the neurotransmitters and stuff like that, so that your mood starts to change as well.
Right.
So it's something as simple as that is what really did help, and then also learning more about expressing myself, how to express myself.
Right.
So journaling, I adapted to doing a lot of journaling as well to get my thoughts out there as well, so I could become more self-aware.
Right.
And in that process, it became more of an awakening, I guess.
Yes. I found through my journey of struggling with post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, I don't know if you had any specific traumas that caused this to bring you forward into realizing that you were struggling with yourself. But when I was going through and reviewing everything that happened in my life through my therapy, there came a point where it was like, bear with me because I'm still sometimes there. So if there was a specific trauma, did you get therapy for that?
I didn't get therapy. There were certain points where I did consult a therapist just to kind of sort out what was going on in my mind.
Yeah.
And I really didn't go to many sessions, but it's more affirming, more so like the mental health struggles I was having, like some perfectionist issues that I was having, and just affirming that it's okay not to be perfect.
So share with our viewers, what did perfectionism look like for you?
To me, it looked like I couldn't make a mistake.
Okay.
Or I just the thought that things needed to be perfect. Otherwise, that would mean that there's something wrong with me, or I'm not good enough, or even worthiness comes in there as well.
So did that come from where you first mentioned about beliefs?
Yes.
You have some beliefs from your childhood carried on that you kind of believe that I had to be perfect to be worthy?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely came from childhood as well. And I don't think it was anything external. I think it was just things that I've learned or processed along the way, growing up, and just thought that's how it needed to be.
Well, it's interesting you said that, because when I was going through the things that I went through, and I realized when I went to see my doctor and I screamed at him, I just want to be happy. And I thought that life was supposed to be like that unhappiness, that need for perfectionism, that need to be in control of everything. And I thought that's how life was, when in fact it was very much the opposite. Hello, Adam. That's our founder.
Oh.
And learning that about that I didn't have to be perfect at everything and control everything. Now, control was the major thing for me. Control was, everybody had to act a certain way, and that I was never wrong and they were never right. It was just real bad in trying to control my situation to, I guess, basically to stay stuck. Because the more I tried to control it, the less things would change. Did you go through that?
I totally relate to that as well. I relate to the right or wrong aspect for sure, and definitely the need to control, because I guess that's where the surrendering comes in. Being able to surrender and just accept things as they are right now.
Yeah.
And doesn't mean that they can't change, but just accept that that's how it is, because when you're not able to surrender, then it is resistance to what is in this moment.
Yeah. And did you try to when you're doing your self-care, and you said you would read and learn stuff from that, who were some of your people that inspired you to change?
Yeah, originally definitely it was more so started off with personal growth. So Tony Robbins was a big inspiration.
Yeah.
And that was more so for shifting my mindset. I think that's where it started as well. And then when I talk about self-care, I think there's habits in there as well. And I think that really plays a part into when we talk about depression and anxiety, because that is a lot of habit-based rituals in there that really support that.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree. Because your show people your book, The Decision to Heal.
Yeah.
Because does that tie into the patterns you're talking about, the changing of the habits?
Yes, it does. So this particular book, there's six, myself included, six authors, and we all share our individual stories of struggles that we went through in our life, and the steps that we took to overcome those struggles. And it's interesting, like each story is different, but they all connect. And that's the way it is with other people. You can somehow relate to other people's stories, even though that you haven't went through exactly what they went through. You can connect to different aspects of it.
Yeah.
So back to your question there. It shares about the habits that I've adapted and that have helped me along the way.
So did you find, once you started looking at the negative habits you were going through and started to change those mindsets, that your mental health improved?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, the same for me. And
so
what would I just as the questions come, I just blurt them out. So when did the decision come to heal? What was there, a pinnacle moment? Was there a turning point, a birth of a child, something?
Yeah, I don't know. It could be different for everyone, but for me, it went in the process of starting with personal growth. So learning about myself, learning about kind of how I'm thinking, what my mindset is, and then it went to healing. So looking at going back to like a little bit deeper, going deeper into like what I'm believing about myself, and all those different things that are bringing me into this moment of how I'm living, and then looking at what's kind of led up to that point, what's created that. So then when I'm beginning to heal in that process, then it goes into the transformational process. So when you talk about awakening, that's when I become self-aware, and I'm not falling into those same patterns when going back to when you talk about wanting to be in control, wanting to be right, or thinking that there's going to be right or wrong in things. You can start to see those as they're happening in real time, so you can make the adjustments.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I recognize exactly what you're saying. I've had to put a lot of that into practice recently with what I've been going through. And I always like to look at it as sometimes there's this gap from an event that happens. Then you have these choices from remembering from the past how you would behave, and now in the present what you want to make your life smoother, a smoother transition from whatever trauma you're experiencing. Because we're continuing, as long as we're alive, there's going to be something that is going to make us unhappy. And that transition from what we've learned, we take those tools from what we've learned, the new habits, the new behaviors, the new thought patterns, and we implement them instead of using the previous behaviors. Like they become like, what? Why did I do that? Kind of thing, right?
Yeah, and exactly what you're saying. So as I've kind of evolved along that way, like I've learned things like the tools that I use now are self-compassion, knowing about inner leadership, and
is that a Tony Robbins thing?
No, inner leadership. It's just looking at being grateful and appreciating our past, because it's helped us to get to where we are, and just acknowledging that story as well.
I haven't heard that term before. Inner leadership. I like that. Remember that one.
So it's tapping into your own inner wisdom that you've already accumulated along in life.
I think I refer to what you're saying as more of my intuition.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Right? Because I did a lot of work with my therapist on my inner child. And my inner child was very, very wounded. And I had to do this diagram of how she was when she was such and such an age, and how I saw her today. And then how I saw myself as an adult today, and an adult before I started my healing. And it just blew me away of what I put in the picture, because it was artwork that I had to do, and making the drawings of how my feelings came out on paper. And being able to look at that was really mind-blowing for me, because I didn't realize I had been treating, like, you literally, when you're so wounded from traumas, you actually are treating yourself so poorly. Right?
Yeah.
So did you feel at a time in your life that if you didn't change, you would remain unhappy?
That's what my fear was.
Yeah.
My fear was that if things didn't change and I couldn't figure it out, I just feared where my life would be going, where I would be going. Yeah.
So your story, is it a specific story in the decision to heal? What's the title of it?
And that's a good question. I'm going to tell you right now.
You didn't know you were going to get a quiz, did you?
No, I didn't. It was definitely about mental health. The journey to inner peace and self-acceptance. And I think that's, if I had to, that would be my story, my title of my life story.
Interesting.
And that's I think that's what I feel I needed to learn in my life, was self-acceptance, and through that, gratitude, presence, and connection. And so now, it's for me, it's all about practicing spirituality. So when you talk about people that have really influenced or inspired me, Eckhart Tolle is one of them.
Amen.
And yeah, just to have that inner peace.
Yeah. I went through I didn't discover Eckhart Tolle until after I started my therapy. So I went through various levels of, when you're struggling with something, sometimes you take a step or two forward and then you take a step or two back, but eventually it's more like you're taking 5 steps forward and only 2 steps back. I did that a lot through my progression through mental health. And it seemed like every time I got in a really dark place with my mental health, it turned into, and just a minute, let's see, she says she has a group of friends and we help each other talk. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Jackie. And that's very important. Like these chats that having these podcasts, when Adam approached me, I'll come back to my story if I remember. When Adam approached me to have my own show, I had still some self-esteem, self-confidence, issues about, oh my God, could I do this? It has like set me free. Being able to share and talk and do my fundraisers and everything being out there in public, because I didn't have a voice as a child. I suffered very much in silence. And this show and having talks with people like yourself, being able to communicate with Jackie. Hey, Robert, how you doing? And it lifts my spirit. Even though I've been through hell for the last couple of weeks, you graciously offered maybe we should postpone. And I was like, well, maybe I should. But you know what? Maybe I could, not should. And I could have, but something was telling me, do this and that. And this is why I'm doing it, because your story helps maybe Robert or Jackie, and my story will help somebody. And it's why I keep coming back and making myself do these things, because my old habit would have said, no, I'm going to stay in my little space where I'm going to be sad. But my friend wouldn't want me to stay sad over his death. And I realized that today. And but I also feel the compassion from you, because you do have that presence. Because what we learn while we're going through mental health, and I'm pretty sure you're going to agree with me on this, is mental health, and this is something I'm really trying to get out into the world when I talk with people, mental health and spirituality are a must. Not a should or could. It's a must. For me, it was a must. If I didn't find a spiritual route along this journey of mental health, I don't think I would be here today. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I could look you in the eye and it wouldn't be a word of not truth. Because Eckhart Tolle says, use your addictions, and I had lots of addictions, to bring you out of your mental health. I would love to do a show on that, And your decision to heal is helping others now, because tell us a little bit about your coaching.
Yeah, so with my coaching, it started off in that journey of strictly health coaching. And then I quickly realized my journey was deeper than that. Mm-hmm. Health coaching is part of it because that incorporates the self-care and the habits. So that's the beginning part of it. And then I learned that, it's deeper than that. So life coaching, going into, how you're approaching life and your mindset around things. But then my journey is also deeper than that. Mm-hmm. It was going into the transformational part of it. So the beliefs part of it. So that's what I incorporate in my coaching, to help people establish those habits, the mindset. And also one thing that I haven't mentioned is the intention as well. Like I focus a lot about integrity. So that's also part of inner leadership as well. So like how you're wanting to show up in life and mm-hmm. how you're following through to do that, and what's stopping you, or what's stopping someone from doing that, what's getting in the way of that. And usually it comes back to either the beliefs, the mindset, or the habits.
Yeah. Do you think, okay, I'm going to ask a really hard question.
I love hard questions.
Do you think that there are people with mental health issues that can not be saved? Talking about my friend.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to let the viewers know what I keep referring to, because it's going to keep coming up because I'm still struggling with it. Is I lost a dear, dear friend to suicide this past week. And I'm asking these hard questions to give me some clarity and some self-compassion, because there's so much I have not learned. And now, as I was explaining to Kristin when we sat down before we started our show, was that it's I wouldn't want anyone have to learn what I'm having to learn now at this part of my life about losing someone to suicide. It's horrible, I gotta tell you. So why I ask these hard questions is so I can learn and grow and transform from a perspective of someone who has some insight that maybe could help me, and we can share it with the viewers that could help them, right? So I ask that question to myself a lot of times. Are there people who are, and I believe Eckhart Tolle touches on this, and I believe there are other spiritual teachers who touch on this. And it's a form of something I believe we need to accept in society, which is there are souls that come here solely to teach those that are supposed to help others learn. And I believe my friend was one of them.
Yeah. That is a tough question. I guess my answer is, like, everyone has a responsibility and accountability for part of themselves. And I appreciate, like, what I do now, because what helped me on my journey was whether it was a conversation I had with someone, or just even simple words that someone has said to me, like, how are you doing? How are things going? Or whatever. I check in on people. And there's been people that I've said, thank you so much. I've been struggling.
Yes.
And that really lifted me up today. And I don't know if that makes a difference for someone that's in the dark place that you're talking about, but I don't know if there's certain things that can be done to help someone shift where they're at. Yeah, that's tough. Part of it is their decision and choice. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, that's what the conclusion I came to as well. I came to the conclusion that no matter how much love you can have for somebody, no matter how many inspirational or motivational knowledge we can share with others, there are some that it's just not going to resonate with. It's not going to inspire them. It's not going to motivate them. And that's where I think self-compassion and compassion come into play, is to, like, the whole program of the Mental Health Warriors is about ending the stigma, right?
Yeah.
And Jackie is sharing here a lot about losing friends and people that, like how I've lost my friend to suicide. And my girlfriend expressed to me, the wife of my friend, she expressed to me how the judgments are starting to come. And there's no compassion in judging somebody who's grieving the loss of their husband, no matter how they die, right? It's like today I went to the, what's our timing here? Sorry, folks. It's like I went to the Service Ontario kiosk today for a driver's license with my father-in-law, and there's this big, huge sign about do not bully, no homophobia, no rude behavior, with a big circle with an X through it. And I'm like, how have we come into society where we have to put a huge big sign not to mistreat other people? And that breaks my heart because I'm all about love, kindness, and compassion, right? So she was so nice, this lady. I couldn't imagine if anybody was like being abusive to her, I would have stepped in there. But, you know, it's like, I guess a lot of people are asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And your book, The Joy of Being, does that touch on anything about being compassionate? What does your Joy of Being touch on?
Yeah, so in that particular book, it's definitely it's a self-reflection journal, but it's very in depth. So it's helping. The intention behind it is to help someone establish the habits of self-compassion.
Man?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, keep
Yeah.
sharing.
So it helps someone to establish the habits of self-compassion, being present, having presence in their day,
Yeah.
through various practices, with shifting the mindset as well. So that could mean being more positive.
Right.
Also, creating self-awareness for someone's self-talk, checking in, helping them express themselves. So being aware of how they're feeling in their day, and the accountability aspect. So looking at what challenges they're facing and what choices they have. So as opposed to staying stuck, looking at what are the options and also exploring what are the possibilities. And then, of course, gratitude. Gratitude's a big part in there as well. Gratitude and appreciation. At the beginning of the day, it's all about setting the intention. So
so you have your where you keep track of the day.
Yep.
And then your daily quote, daily presence. I love that. Today's affirmation, pre-day check-in. Today's biggest challenge, my choices, actions, midday check-in. Wow, this is really thorough. I love it. Post-day learning, gratitude, resources. Amazing. Absolutely, I'm going to buy one. Let's see what our viewers are saying. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you. Thank you for your compassion. That's really tough. We're sorry to hear that, Jackie. And I just learned also that my friend Robert, he says he's in a shelter. Robert, I hope you have support and that you have a group of people that are there for you while you're going through this transition in your life. And you can always reach out to us and talk. The community has a lot of stuff out there. I myself had to go into a shelter a long time ago, and the support was incredible. And please just have some faith that your situation will improve. The books, what did that do for you, publishing your books? What did it mean to you?
Yeah, so this book here, this was a culmination of kind of my journey and what I learned along the way, kind of through my coaching process as well, like my learning through that as well. And
so you use this book with your clients?
Yeah, I recommend it for them to use. And it's one thing I will say, like, it's not something that has to be filled out line for line. It's more so what someone really wants to focus on, what they want to practice, I guess, or what they feel they would like to incorporate in a day. But for me, this really helped me. Publishing this book really helped me in my life. It helped me to strengthen that process for myself in my life.
Give you a lot more self-confidence.
That's
too,
right. Yeah.
I felt the same way when I published my coloring books. I was so passionate about getting them done. and the message and the way to raise money for mental health through them. And I'm still expanding into different products and services to do that. So I get what you're saying, that feeling of self accomplishment, because I used to have the old habit of not finishing what I started, and I have that sometimes still, but it's like I don't use perfectionism with it. It's like, okay, it's not a priority in my life right now. I'm working on this, right? So there's not the berating myself like I used to.
Yeah, and I mean, I ran into a lot of challenges with publishing the book. So the book itself was a tool for me to overcome those challenges. When you talk about accountability, gratitude, presence as well, those are all things that helped me to navigate through those challenges.
Yeah.
So the book was like a learning tool for myself.
Cool. Yeah. Same for me for coloring, because when I color, time doesn't exist. It's an activity. Drawing and coloring is an activity that's so relaxing for me. I could be out here 2-3 hours coloring, and if somebody didn't come and get me, I'd be lost. You know, I'll disappear into the pages, as I used to say to people in my books. But there's that sense of you're just grateful that you accomplished something that's going to help somebody else, right? And when I get feedback from people, and I'm sure you must get feedback from your books as well when you do a sale, because when people follow up with from afterwards, when they've used your book and they say, oh my God, that really helped me today, it's like, yeah, I'm serving a great purpose, a higher purpose, right, for the good of humanity.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, because I feel like that's what helps me to stay connected, is having that higher purpose, that's something greater than myself.
Yes. Wow. Very interesting conversation. I love the little quotes you have on your bookmarks here. Today, I honor my journey and acknowledge my steps. Give myself grace with compassion and kindness. Respect my needs to restore and rejuvenate. This one is really jumping out at me right now, because I felt a lot with my mental health issues that not only was I not respecting myself, I wasn't respecting others. And oh my God, did I have an attitude. And recently, I respected my needs. Yesterday, coming back from my girlfriend's, I took the long way back from Whitby and drove through Uxbridge and all those little towns around there. And we had a rainstorm, and I was loving every minute of it. And then I saw the Bradford greenhouse there on Young Street, and I pulled in there and spent 2 hours just wandering around, just being in the flowers, right? And that's respecting my needs and restoring and rejuvenating me. And it's almost like autopilot now. So I've been able to process my grief, help another person grieve, my girlfriend, and then also give myself support through the time, and not stay in that quagmire of focusing on what I could have done, which was pretty much nothing, because if somebody intends to take their life, there's nothing that's going to stop them. And I'm glad I took that time to restore and rejuvenate, because it's really important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you do that? Like, so what does your self-care look like now?
Yeah, so right now my self-care looks like as soon as I consider the spirituality part of it as my self-care. So as soon as I wake up in the morning, I meditate.
Yeah.
I set my timer for 10 minutes. That's what my meditation time is. I'm probably going to work up to 20 minutes.
Mhm.
I found that to be kind of my sweet spot. But right now it's 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So I'll meditate. Then after that, then I have my prayer and give my thanks with gratitude and acknowledge the blessings in my life
Mhm.
and life itself, really.
Yeah.
And then after that, I have my acknowledgement of kindness for myself, which includes just appreciating myself, telling myself that I love myself,
Yes.
and I want to say it's I don't know how it's kind of may I give myself. So may I give myself joy or whatever it is that I want to give myself today. So usually it's joy, compassion, and presence. Those are usually my things. And when I'm saying those things, I'm feeling into them. So I'm not just saying them with words. They're actually, they have meaning behind them.
Right.
And then after that, I just acknowledge how I'm showing up for myself, the efforts that I'm taking, and that I'm just doing a great job.
Yeah. I do a lot of the I am affirmations.
Yeah.
They really helped me when I had all that negative self-talk. And I think a lot of people who have grown up with abuse and your language used to be so negative, so it's so key. And there's a real controversial thing out there about that I am affirmations don't work because you aren't actually that yet. But the whole thing is the subconscious is hearing you, so you start to believe it, right? Well, you can't say an affirmation such as I am a giraffe and then become a giraffe physically, but but when you do say I am worthy, I am trusting, I am caring, you become that because then your brain actually starts to believe it. And I found the I am affirmations life-saving for me, right? And my previous teachers prior to Eckhart Tolle was Prem Rawat. Did you know him? Words of Peace.
No, I'm not familiar.
Well, his long birth name is, I can't even pronounce it, but he has this program called Words of Peace. I went to see him live. I went to see Eckhart Tolle live too. And he basically talks about inner peace and outward peace, but he doesn't talk about world peace, right? Because world peace is something that we all, is sort of like nirvana. I think I'm pronouncing that right. And it's something that's not obtainable, but your world is, and then you radiate that out, right? And I would love the day when our self-care practices become a norm for people from like young, right? Where hatred is eradicated and fear is something we recognize and learn from instead of continually fear, right? Because there's fear always, right? So what's your take on that? What do you think about that?
Yeah. What's jumping out to me is that I used to think happiness was dictated by a lot of external things. That's just what I thought. I thought, if it meant a job or family or whatever, I thought it was something to do with things that you obtain or accomplish.
Right.
So that's kind of shifted in my life because now it's more focused on joy. So what I'm creating within myself.
Yeah.
And that's basically.
So what I'm hearing you say, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you discovered joy within yourself, and now it's like you can live within the external world in more peace because you have the inner peace.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. And that comes full circle back to us talking about spirituality connected to mental health.
Yes.
So I always use it like this. I say, if you have a three-legged stool, if you remove one of the legs, then you can't sit on the stool. It'll just fall over, right? So it's your mental health, your spiritual health, and your physical health.
Yes.
Right. And if you have all three of those, then you're very stable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and that's I love how you kind of reflected that back. That's wonderful.
Yeah. And I talk to people all the time about the importance of where we can help people along their journey. So discovering all the different types of mental illnesses, right? So I've had many guests on the show that talk about bipolar, manic depression, been suicidal, whatever the case may be, and whatever the reason. And they are so inspiring. Like your story is inspiring. Their stories are inspiring. And it always comes down to choice. They choose to get help. They choose to be actively involved in looking after their mental health. So this is where I feel my friend didn't come out of his suffering because he never made the decision to actively participate in his own mental healing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I find that when you talk about mental health, and there's obviously.
Oh, let me interrupt you.
Sure.
Jackie, the sign here says, self-love is what always comes first. That is like a slogan of mine that I rely on always. I have others in the greenhouse here. Your mental wellness matters. We really love you. Welcome. Be sure to breathe deeply. I'm very much about putting stuff out into the universe that inspires people. So that's what that one says. Self-love always comes first for me. Because if you don't love yourself, you can't love others, right? Sorry, go ahead, Kristin.
No. I just want to say I appreciate these signs here.
Thank you.
They're very inspiring.
Yeah.
I was just saying about mental health, and there's always a stigma, or there is a stigma around that. And I feel like when we talk about someone, the choice that they make, or that they have, that they can make, I feel like I know for myself, it was disassociating.
Mm-hmm.
So just feeling that you're alone, and the actual fact is that you're not, because there's other people that are experiencing the same thing that you are.
Yes.
And then it's just the fact of, reaching out and connecting with either those people or connecting with other people to get support or whatever. And that's the stigma, I think, comes in that way. And when you talk about men's mental health specifically, I think the stigma there is that, number one, I think men traditionally, they're not as expressive,
Mm-hmm.
which is part of the issue, I think.
Yeah.
And then number two is that they feel like they either have to do it on their own, or if they do express themselves in that way, they're going to be viewed as weak, or something in that way, and then of course that makes them feel like they're not enough as a person.
Yeah. That's one of the toughest things, and that conversation has come up many, many times. And that conversation has come up. I've had a panel of men talk about men's mental health before. 6 gentlemen came on. And I would love to do that show again, and you will be invited to that one as well. I would love to have you back on. That could have been a lot of the issue around my friend who committed suicide. He was I wish for that stigma for men to be completely gone, because we are beings, and it doesn't matter if you're male or female, what skin color you are, what race you are, what cultural upbringing you had. Love is love. our spirits are the same. And for men to be living in that is just there's no words for me to describe, because I would not wish that on my son or my boyfriend or any male. My father-in-law used to struggle with mental health issues, and he was like, will you stay home with me? Yes. Because his anxiety was through the roof. You know, he's 90. He's expecting one more morning not to wake up and nobody be there. And I do this for a living. I mean, I'm here for people for mental health. Why would I say no to him? So I've built my life so that I can be there for him in the mornings. And he's 90. He's of the generation where you would never talk about mental health, but he hears me talking about it all the time. So it inspired him to reach out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, Dad, I love you. I'm going to be compassionate about what you're going through. And it didn't matter that he was my father-in-law or my mother-in-law. It's just, I see him. I see you. You ever watch Avatar?
Yeah.
I see you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I see you. And it's a beautiful thing to see people for just being a being. Right?
Yeah. And I think that's so important to like the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
It is to create that space for people to know that it's okay to openly talk about that.
Yeah.
And not to, I think that's also what gets us associated with that when you're talking about that sometimes is the shame or the guilt.
Yeah. Well, that it's such human nature to judge,
Mm-hmm.
right? But we judge for specific things like, okay, you know, I like cold water versus room temperature water. That's a judgment, but it's a self-judgment for yourself to make a decision. But then you got the judgments that are harmful, right? Judging somebody because they have a mental health issue and causing them to have there to be stigma because you're a man and you have to be manly. It's like, you know, what's with that? I don't get it. It doesn't compute for me,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're a human being and you should receive the same sort of treatment as anyone else.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, I'm grateful that you're one person that is able to speak up for men, and it's not weak.
Yeah. No, I feel that it's actually a strength.
It is. Vulnerability is something that was difficult for me too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you experienced where you felt that.
That's definitely something that was I needed to learn that.
Yeah. Yeah, vulnerability is viewed by so many that it's a weakness, and it's not.
Well, yeah, and I mean when in my mental health struggles, when I was very self-judgmental, I would avoid doing anything that I thought would create judgment for myself.
Yeah.
Vulnerability definitely being one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one thing to be, I think, I don't know where I would like to do a more in-depth conversation or look into this more about the term vulnerability, or being vulnerable. But for me, it was the sexual abuse that probably I felt I had to protect myself from being vulnerable. But and all the verbal and physical abuse of my family. So that's probably where the stigma comes, where vulnerability is. But to be vulnerable just means to be open to receive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe that I think everyone aspires to be authentic.
Mm-hmm.
They just want to be themselves, and to be yourself means, expressing yourself, and part of that is being vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah. I put myself in situations all the time now where I make myself vulnerable, and it may make people angry or they may not understand me, but I'm being genuine to myself.
That's right.
Right. And I can't change how they respond to how I do what's best for me and I believe is best in the situation. But it is what it is. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's being present to my truth.
That's right.
Right. So Kristin, we're coming up to wrapping up the hour. See how fast it flies by?
It does, yeah.
Tell everybody, share with people where they can find your books, an email, your webpage, and all that kind of good stuff, so that people, if they want to maybe do some soul transformational coaching with you or buy your book,
Sure,
they know where to reach you.
my books are available online on Amazon or Barnes and Noble, or if you're located in Canada, Chapters Indigo, and you can also go on my, I have a website called KristinSvenLarsen.com, and it has information about my books, as well as a little bit of information about my coaching and how to connect with me, and also different social media. I'm very active on social media as well. And I also will mention that I have a new book that's in the process of being published right now. It's at the publisher, and it's called Joy Being Mindfully Present. And it's all about understanding what joy and presence are and what that means to the individual in their own life, understanding and processing emotions, and also understanding what stops someone from being present in their own life. And of course, many resources to help someone to learn how to adapt those into their life.
Very awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you being here today. Thank you.
Yeah, this was a wonderful conversation, and I appreciate that. And thank you for everyone that's watching this and being present with us.
Yeah. Yes. And I'd like to share with everyone that July is going to be my fundraiser for the Canadian Mental Health Association. I have received so many donations this year, so much support, sponsor tables. The Canadian Mental Health Association will be here. I'm not sure if they're here all 3 days, but they will be here to answer any questions, have flyers, and accepting, conversations, sit down and talk with them. And I myself will be running it for the entire 3 days. It runs from July 7th, Friday, July 7th to Sunday, July 9th, from 8 till 5 each day. So please come out. And if you're local to Clearview, Simcoe County, it's worth the drive here. And I have everything you can imagine, from jewelry to men's double X size clothing, you name it, I have it. Thank you, everyone who's donated, if you're listening. And thank you again, Kristin, for coming today. And I would love to have you back sometime, and we can talk more in detail about, just healing and more experiences and stuff like that, and your thoughts on other stuff about mental health and well-being.
Absolutely, I enjoy that.
Yeah, that'd be great. So if you are struggling, please don't stay in what my girlfriend terms as a black hole. I've been there. I'm sure Kristin has been in a black hole as well. You are not alone. We are here to support you. You can reach out to the founder, Adam Duvall, myself personally, on Learn to Love Myself, which is my company. And if you want to come on as a guest, if you are in the profession of coaching, psychology, whatever the case may be, or you have an experience you want to share with us, please do so. And like and subscribe, please. Have a wonderful day, and be safe and be kind to each other. Bye for now.